friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest and I am a longarm quilter, and today on my YouTube video we are doing an all customer finishes edition today. I am this close to having my calico garden quilt top completed, but I thought instead of showing you details on that, I will just finish that up this week and show you the completed top next week. I probably won't have it longarm quilted, but I will have the entire applique done and all of the surrounding borders and all the calico stars all around it. I am this close, this close. So stay tuned for next week's video so that you can see that. But today we're going to do an all customer finishes edition. I have tons to show you and it's going to be a fun day. So first of all though, let's start out talking about Quilt Circle. So if you've been following me for very long, you know that I have an online membership. This started this past summer and we are getting ready to open the doors again to new members. And so starting October 20th through the 23rd of 2023, the doors will be open for 4 days where you can join us, join in the membership. We only do this a couple times a year because we want to keep the whole atmosphere of the group cohesive, get to know one another on a deeper level. So just to kind of stop the influx and outflux of people all the time, we only open the doors a couple times a year so that you can get in, we can get to know you, we can make friends from across the country, even into other countries. And it's been an exciting journey. It's surely been a learning experience, and I appreciate all the founding members that have joined me in these first few months. They have embraced the whole process. They have worked with me as we figure out the tech side of it and just get the ball rolling. But I am super excited about the upcoming events we have starting the first of the year. We will be, in the next couple months, next month or so, we'll be choosing a pattern to do as a quilt along in 2024. This past week in our monthly meeting, I presented 5 or 6 patterns. I kind of lost track here. 5 or 6 patterns to the group that they will then vote on, and we will choose which pattern we're going to pick for our 2024 quilt along. We have a Secret Santa ornament exchange this holiday season, and we have a Quilts of Valor initiatives kicking off soon. So lots of new changes happening. So if you want to get in before this quilt along starts and before we start our Quilts of Valor, you'll want to get signed up for the wait list. I will put a link down below so that you can sign up for the wait list so that you'll be sure to get notified as the emails go out this coming weekend about that quilt membership opening up. So we also on the Quilt Circle membership have a chat feature. This is not held on Facebook. This is held in the Circle platform, and a really easy, user-friendly platform. We do all of our monthly meetings, all of our live events on the platform. It does have a chat feature where we're able to keep in contact with each other on a daily basis. We're able to show pictures and share comments. Just a really fun experience for everybody. One of the members told me recently that her favorite feature of Quilt Circle is that all of the live events are recorded so that she can go back and watch them later. She's not able to visit with us in our live times, and so she feels like she doesn't miss out on anything because she's able to go back and watch those live events, and then she's able to participate in the chat feature as well, so she never feels like she's left out of the group. So that's a great feature too. So join the membership waitlist down below if you want to be notified about that opening coming this next weekend. I'm sure excited about that. All right, let's start into some customer finishes today. I have a whole slew of them, and how about we just start with the smallest one I have, which is the blue one here on the desk. Choosing my favorite quilt each week is kind of like choosing your favorite child. I don't do it. But there are certain features of each quilt that I like to point out. There are certain features of each quilt that inspire me in different ways, or that encourage me as a quilter, or that just make me feel good as a quilter. For this quilt, it is these flannel fabrics on the front. This is a super simple pattern design. It's one of the Villa Rosa designs. If you've been in a quilt store and they have the little cards, they're only usually a couple dollars a piece. Little cards that have a quilt picture on one side and a very easy pattern on the other side. This one is called Spice Drop, so you'll need to look at your local quilt store, see if they can get that pattern for you. Super simple. Large squares. This is all done in flannels, and my favorite part are the flannels. These are the softest, prettiest flannels that I have dealt with in a long time. This is Primitive Gatherings line, Lakeside Gatherings, and I love these prints. Now, Susan has used all of the blues in here. The whole design, the whole line of fabrics also has some tans and some lighter colors as well. But I love, not only do I love the feel, I love the whole look of even the blues, how you can put all of the blues together and have a beautiful quilt. You don't even have to add in those lighter shades of tans and creams. Beautiful fabric. Just a very wide diversity of flannels. You know, here we have a zigzag line. This is more of a I'd almost say a pixelated type of look. Some houndstooth, some straights, some classic plaids. Just beautiful. I absolutely love this. Have I said that? I absolutely love this line. Some larger plaids there. There's some houndstooth there. I just love these. So the pattern itself is just large rectangles. And then offset so that we have a smaller, you know, almost a square size here, but a little bit of a shorter rectangle. And then just offset in the different rows. A nice effect. If it just blends seamlessly. Really, really cute. And then not only does Susan have these wonderful flannels on the front, she chose a Shannon Cuddle Minky on the back. Oh my goodness, I actually this week got to work with 2 quilts that have this same navy Shannon Cuddle, and this is scrumptious. It just feels like you're petting a cat, if that's good to you, you know, or pick your favorite animal or your favorite fabric that you like to feel. It's just soft, it's cool, but I love this, this combination of these flannels. The flannels are soft, they're pliable, they're not a heavy, thick flannel paired with a batting, and then the minky backing. Just beautiful. I love how minky soaks up the quilting so that you don't even, I mean, you could, you know, stretch this apart to try to find the quilting stitches themselves, but it just adds so much texture onto the back of a quilt. I think it is absolutely beautiful. So the Pantograph I chose for this one, I asked Susan if this one would work. This is the diagonal plaid, the bias cut one, so that the corners are rounded. There are several different diagonal plaid Pantographs out there, and this one, I love the bias cut one. I love how it adds the rounded corners to it. Very easy to stitch out. I did this one in... of course, I hate to give sizes because it could be different on different machines, but you know, this is probably a 2-inch square, something like that. That's not the size that you would do it on the design, because the design actually includes 2 rows. And so the height of the design is actually 2 of these. The width of the design is actually 2 of them. So I'm just giving you the size of this design. I do change up this Pantograph, the size of this Pantograph, depending on the quilt top that I'm doing. I've used this Pantograph on baby quilts, and I shrink that down much smaller. This one, I would say it's kind of a medium size, and I was trying to, let's see, I did not want them as big as the block, so I kind of shrunk it down so it's about 1/3 of the block. But because this is so offset, it's not that it's a third and a third or a half and a half. The way it's set in there, it really, you know, so you can see the width of this. There's one block here and one block here, but then the other one fits in right there. So I would say this is kind of a medium one. I'm also working on a t-shirt quilt right now that's on the long arm. I'm using this same diagonal plaid. The t-shirt quilt is a very big quilt. It measures about 85 by 100. You have very large t-shirt blocks as well. So I actually used the diagonal plaid, but I made it a little bit bigger, maybe even an inch bigger than I did on this. Because of the scale of the quilt, because of the scale of the blocks, I wanted to increase that pantograph. It just fit better with the design. Also the fabrics on that one, I didn't want to just quilt it to death, especially with t-shirts. You want to leave a little bit more space because you want those, the patterns, the sayings and things on the t-shirt just to really shine through. And I don't want to quilt it so much that it shrinks those in or distorts those in any way. So with a t-shirt quilt, I'll do it a little bit bigger. And like I said, a baby quilt, I will do it even smaller. On this one, I felt kind of a medium. Just so that it matched with the size of the quilt. This quilt is, let me find it, 54 by 72, so still not a bad size quilt. This would be like a couch throw. It's not going to fit on a bed unless you just toss it at the end. It's not going to be a full twin size or anything. I do think this would work very well for a twin quilt, and I'm even thinking this would be a great blanket for a college student in a cold part of the country. So there may be one of these in my future, and it would be very easy to increase the size of this pattern. More rows, and I don't know, I don't have a copy of the pattern itself to be able to tell you what size the pattern comes in, but it would be very easy to increase the size of this pattern. So really, really cute. So many good details on this one. Just scrumptious, those minky backings. And if you don't know that I love minky backings at this point, you got to go back and watch all my other videos, because every time I use minky, I absolutely love it. I have no trouble with it on the long arm. I do like to tell people I prefer you leave the selvages on a minky. It's much less shedding that way and much less stretch that way. And then I return all pieces of the extra back to you. You can use on other projects, and but I just love it. Just love it, especially as we're heading into cooler weather. I think that the flannels and the minky is a great combination. All right, so let's move on to this lightning bolt quilt up here at the top. Jennifer's quilt is a beauty as well. This is called Static Age, and this is a quilt pattern by Libs Elliott, and I have linked this pattern down below. So she describes this pattern as an electric lightning bolt quilt. It can be made in 2 different layouts and in 4 different sizes. The bolts are all fat quarter friendly and can be made in a rainbow spectrum, in a scrappy look, or with a curated bundle collection. So Jennifer has chosen, these are Moda Grunge prints. I think she's used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, several different, so it might have been, oh wow, a whole bunch of different blues. So here's more of a navy blue, more of a bright blue, then some greens, like a paint spattered green, like almost a teal, and then this is more of an olive color. We do have more of a lemon yellow one, some light blues, some slate blues. So being fat quarter friendly, I would wonder if Jennifer didn't have a fat quarter of this to use for those pieces. The background fabric that you're seeing, lots of open negative space. This is a pattern called, let me find it real quick. This is Speckled Metallic, and this was done by Ruby Star Society. And if you can see that real in close, it has some of the same blues and golds kind of paint splattered on there. A nice effect with the lightning bolts, so it kind of gives a little bit of a metallic, electric feel to it, but it's done with the gray. There are some others of this paint splattered type of speckled is what it's called. There are some other colorways, not just the gray one. It's really, really cute. And the lightning bolts, like I said, are all grunge, and so they have that little bit of a mottled type colors, not solids. This would be very nice as well, even in like some Bella solids you could do, but I like this effect as well, especially with the speckled print. Then this is the second quilt where the navy Shannon Cuddle is on the back. Oh, I won't go into it again. I'll just sit here and pet it while I talk to you. I really, really like the Minky. All right, and you can see, actually probably see better on the front, is the Pantograph that we chose for this one. And Jennifer asked if we could use the malachite. How cool is that? Now, malachite I use a lot on water-themed quilts. Underwater, ocean, fish, you know, anything like that. I think this adds a very electric feel to this quilt. Look at the texture that it adds into all of that negative space. I love this Pantograph. Very easy to stitch out. It nests together very nicely in with the other rows so that you don't see one distinct row to the other, and love how it fills in that negative space. Very, very nice. And again, on the back, you would have to kind of pull Minky apart or stretch it different ways to even see the stitches onto that. Minky just soaks up the stitches. So nice. So nice. We did use a gray thread on this, obviously, with the gray front, and then blends right in to the blue backing. Now, I want to give a word of caution about using Minky on the back. I told you, you know, in the last quilt how I really enjoy using it. I have no trouble. The only thing you have to be careful of is using a dark color and a light color on the front, because some Minkies do have a tendency to pull that Minky up through the stitches on the front. This would be particularly noticeable if you had a dark blue like this with a white front. If you had a bright red or a bright pink and a white front. That's where I've seen most of the trouble come. You know, some with myself, some with some of my other long arm buddies. This is something we've talked about, is why is it pulling that through? Because normally if you're having one fabric pulled to the, you know, one side or the other, it's usually you're seeing a little bit of batting or what they call bearding on the back of a quilt, where you'll see it pop through some of those stitches. But with Minky, we see occasionally where it's popping through, the Minky is popping through the stitches on the front. We have, my long arm buddies and I that have discussed this, it doesn't matter whether we're using a ballpoint needle or a sharp needle, it's happened on both of them. We've tried slowing down the design or, you know, different tactics, and it tends to happen. It's just when you use a very distinct dark color or bright color with a white top. So I would just be cautious of that, or know that that might happen. Now, I honestly don't feel it's going to be there forever. I think as that quilt is washed and those stitching holes close up, because that will happen. Once a quilt is used, you know, when you're quilting, you're poking holes in your quilt. But as that quilt is used and washed, and just gets the use of it, those holes tend to shrink up and close up around the quilting fabric, or the quilting stitches. So with the Minky, even though it might be popping through a little bit, as that's used, those holes are going to shrink up, and that little bit of Minky that's popping through is going to get worn away. So I just don't want you to be shocked by it if you get a quilt back and you have these little pin pricks of Minky through the front. If you're concerned about it, I would really try to match kind of match the tone of your quilt. I didn't have trouble with this one. And well, there are a few things that I can see little pinpricks, but with the front fabric being that speckled print already, you don't notice any little dark spots of the minky popping through because it blends with the fabric that's already there. So I would just be cautious of it. If I was you, I would try to really match. I mean, so like on this quilt, if you were concerned about the blue popping through and it being too noticeable on the front, then I would go with more of a gray backing. Then if you have anything pop through on the front, it's going to blend in and you're not going to notice it. Or do some sort of, now this is all the shedding of the minky, and until it is bound, you're going to have those little shed things. But those little things are not from the stitches themselves. And it really wasn't bad on this quilt. There were just a few little parts that I know that that's what that is. I know it's the minky popping through. Somebody else might just look at it and think that it's part of the fabric, but I know that's what it is. So just be cautious of that and maybe change your choice for minky on the back if you're concerned about it popping through to the front. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's move on to a couple quilts from Cynthia. Cynthia's quilt is a testament that quilting does not have to be complicated. It does not. You can do some very simple designs and get some very striking quilts. All this is a 9 patch. All right. This would be a great beginner quilt. If you're just starting out quilting, this would be a great beginner quilt. So one constant through this entire quilt is the white backing the white background fabric. We have the same white used in every block. You can see the block right here. This is one block, okay? It's just a 9 patch. These are all what I would guess are 5-inch squares. I have not measured them to be certain of that, but we are alternating blocks, one where we have 4 of the colored and 5 of the white print. Alternating that with one beside it, where we have the opposite, where we have 5 of the colored and 4 of the white. And just alternating those back and forth, each design. Okay, and so 4 squares of a colored or 5 squares of a colored. This would be a great, great, great scrap buster. You could figure it out ahead of time if you wanted to, you know, kind of lay these colors next to each other out on the floor or a design board so that you know, okay, this block I want to make with 4 colored pieces, this block I want to make with 5 colored one, or you could make just a bunch of blocks. Wouldn't this be great as a leader and ender project too? You know, you just have a stack of whites and a stack of coloreds and put them together and use them as your leaders and enders. And then you could lay out the fabrics later or the blocks later. So it's just a 9 patch. White, colored white, colored white, colored white, color white. You know, it's just a 9 patch, and then the others. But then when you lay this out, it is just very striking. Very striking and very simple. Great stash buster. Great, great, great. The backing fabric that Cynthia chose for this one, I love this print. It adds so much dimension to a quilt. On the front, you can see the metallic ones. Oh, so cute. A very striking complement to the front. I love the print instead of just a plain color on the back. I like the print. This is a Dear Stella Designs backing fabric. This was a wide backing, so you might want to check your local quilt store for that or search online. It has like moons. It has like a wintry feel. Kind of have it upside down actually. kind of a wintry feel. You can see some mountains, you can see the moon, you can see some little deer running, and you could even use it like a polar bear. Almost gives a very Arctic feel. And I just love the contrast to the front. The blue was a nice addition to this. The Pantograph for this one. All right, so because the quilt top is very simple. I don't mean simple in a bad way. I mean simple in a striking way. It doesn't have to be, quilting doesn't have to be complicated, all right? But this is a great quilt where we can add texture with the Pantograph, and it really makes the quilt come alive. So Cynthia and I looked through some different designs, and we chose this one. This is called iCat. This is actually iCat 1. Again, there are several different iCat ones, all with the same design, but it depends on how wide they make it, how skinny they make it, how many times they repeat the pattern. It makes the different iCat designs. iCat, I-K-A-T. I love how this adds, the iCat adds in, first of all, lots of texture. Second of all, it adds in the curvature, which is different from the very symmetrical design we have. It adds in some curvature without adding florals or without adding circles, but it adds just some nice complement to the straight lines of the pattern itself by adding in a secondary design to the quilt top. I love, love, love this. Just absolutely love it. We used a white thread, and the reason was I didn't want to muddle up the white. This is a solid white, not a print at all. I didn't want to muddle it up with color. I could have used gray, I guess, but then I just felt it was going to take away from the white. I wanted the white to be that stark, bright punch of white that you could see when you're looking at the quilt top. So the white thread just shows texture. It doesn't take away from that at all. I love this. I love this iCat design with the 9 patch. Very nice complement to each other. So cute, Cynthia. I just think this is really nice. This would be a great weekend project. This quilt measures, let me find this was a 60 by 84. Obviously you could make it as large or as small as you wanted. You could even, for a baby size, cut down the size of the blocks that you used. You know, maybe you do 2.5 inch squares so that it kind of matches the size of the quilt. So if I'm using 2.5 inch squares and making a baby quilt, now you saw I will give updates on the baby quilt I was making where I just did it all in a checkerboard fashion. You could do the same thing making a baby quilt with I would do one constant in all the blocks. You know, where this is white, it could be some other color. You could do it in blacks and then do bright colors for your colored ones or whatever. But I would do one constant and then make, you know, choose different fabrics for these. For a baby size, you could shrink the size of the block down to a 2 or 2.5. But again, just do the alternating blocks. For larger quilts, this 5 inch size is really nice, and then just increase the number of the blocks to make the quilt size that you want. Be a great project. A great thing to teach, you know, if you've got grandkids that you're wanting to teach to quilt, or I find that quilting comes along when you get your first house and that family is starting, and you create that nesting instinct. I think is when people get interested in quilting a little bit. Not always, but you know, in some ways. So this would be a great project if you're teaching someone to quilt. It's going to come together quickly. It's simple piecing, and they have a quick win where they see it coming together quickly and just enjoying the process. So a great one. All right, I have a second one of Cynthia's that's not quite so simple. So Cynthia's second quilt looks much more complicated, but it doesn't have to be, and is also a great scrap buster. So Cynthia said she used the tutorial from Terry Rowland. She is a YouTuber as well, and I will link the video where she talks about this, where she gives a whole tutorial about the color wash quilt, how she does her piecing with improv piecing. There is no planning per se. There is no cutting scraps per se, where you are grabbing colors and putting them together, and then you are trimming the size of the block that you need. So no pre-planning, no pre-cutting, using your scraps. What a great stash buster as well. Look at all, because you could use so many small scraps. Look, everything's worth saving, right? You could use these. Terry does the tutorial. Cynthia did this quilt. Cynthia has very, very small little scraps here, so everything can be used. And then, so I will link Terry's YouTube video down below, and if you leave her a comment in there, tell her that I sent you over there so you could see her tutorial. And what a great scrap buster. And then the whole color wash layout. We have lights, and then the purples, and then we move into darker purples. We have some blues in here. I love this bottom part with the fallish colors right now. Even on the other corner, look at those. So all of these are different blocks. I mean, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You know, you got 15, 18 different blocks right there, but all using up scraps, and all just, you know, we have black centers, yellow centers, blue centers, white, you know, all those little scraps can all be used up. Love how even here we switch, and now we've got red centers and then brown, the mustard colors and golden colors. We have purples and greens, blues. I even like the white parts here, where we have just the colored squares in the middle. Such a great quilt. Again, would be a great leaders and enders project. All you're doing, you start with a center square, you're adding 2 sides and then 2 bigger sides, and then you're trimming it down. Great leaders and enders project as well. So you'll have to go over and watch that YouTube video. Then for the backing fabric, isn't this a fun print? So white background, lots of gray with all different colors, all different. I mean, you've got every motif. We've got, you know, straight lines, geometric lines. We've got flowers. We've got compasses. We've got checkerboard. I mean, this includes a little bit of everything. Got even some words and things, different places. Yeah, there's words up here. So many different things. And this fits the front perfect. Really fun. And then you got just these little splatters of color, a little bit of stars, little straight lines, just a hint to what's on the front. Really good choice. Then you can see the pantograph really well on the back. It's a little hard to see it on the front with all the colors. This is the espresso pantograph, and we've used this many times. Love how it adds the softness to this very angular, again, very modern type of quilt, but we soften it up with this espresso pantograph. I did choose an off-white thread with all of the different colors. Even on the backing, it just blends in. It's not a terribly taupey color, it's just more of an off-white to blend with that. But then with all the colors on the front, I didn't want to cover up all the colors. The white parts even had, you know, most of them weren't, it wasn't like the last quilt that was solid whites on all of those squares where I didn't want to mess up the whites. These are so many colors going on that the off-white just tones back the color of the thread. So that it blends a little bit more, and we're not trying to compete with all of the colors on the front. I want the quilting just to be a secondary design on this one. Where that one, it was a secondary design, but it's a very prominent thing. We're adding on top of the simpleness of the quilt pattern, we're adding that pantograph on top to create much more interest in the quilt top. This one, the quilt top carries the interest. I don't need to compete with the interest of the quilt. So the pantograph just fades in the background with a color of fabric that's just going to blend in with the colors on the top and not overshadow and not try to compete with them in any way. And then you can really see the texture more of the Pantograph on the back, but even on the back, it's not, not terribly prominent. But adds some softness. The espresso is just a classy Pantograph. A good complement to this one. It's really, really cute. Really nice. Cynthia did use a wool batting in this one, and when I trimmed it up, she asked that I leave a 1/4 inch around, so that's why you're seeing a little bit of that. Now, wool batting, you do have to be careful. It cannot get wet, so this cannot be washed in the washing machine. This is Quilter's Dream Wool Batting. I do have this in stock right now. I don't always, but if you're sending a quilt to me and are interested in wool or doing a combination of different battings, then you can ask me about that. So Cynthia's quilts are really fun. All right, let's move on to a couple different ones. Let's do the one on the desk here. This is a super cute quilt with a camper theme. Now obviously with this quilt, this is Susan's quilt. With this one, I can't hold this quilt up large enough for you to see the design. So the bigger pictures that I just showed are really going to be your key to seeing the parts of this one. I do love the curtains though. This is one of those quilts, again, that I am so close. When I'm doing the long arm quilting, I'm seeing a 20-inch section. You know, the width of the quilt, I'm seeing 20 inches at a time. And so I don't always get to see the entire design as I'm quilting it. When I lay these out, always before I go onto YouTube, I always lay these quilts out. I take pictures of them. Those pictures are sent to the clients so that they have a record of their quilt, but also so that they see it, see the craftsmanship and the workmanship of the quilt prior to getting it back. But it's so fun when I lay out quilts like this because then I get to see the entire design. And this one is just so cute. The whole camper theme of the quilt, not only in the pattern itself, but also in the fabrics itself. And so this one, the pattern is called Happy Camper Quilt Pattern, and this is by Beverly McCullough of Flamingo Toes. It's all done in small squares. So even the white the white background is all done in small, I would say 2.5 inch squares. I didn't measure them. So each one of those is a little white square, and then that's how you can add in those little pops of color in all of the background fabric. Really, really cute. And then the pattern comes from an inspiration of the fabrics. So you can see the fabric here. It has that same camper theme. So cute. This fabric line is called Joy in the Journey by Dani Mogstad. This was a Riley Blake. This is a couple years old, so you may have to do some searching to find some fabrics like this. I did a quilt a couple years ago. There's a whole panel that goes along with this, and I did a whole quilt with this line as well. It is so fun, and I really like the whole camper theme, and I love how you can make that whole, love the little wheel, but my favorite part of the camper is the curtains. The cafe curtains in the window, and then the door. I love a colored door. And again, I can't hold this up, but the colored door is the green, and then you've got the curtains across the top too. I love a colored door. I love to go past houses that have chosen a nice colored door to complement the house. I think that's a real neat addition to a house and to a camper. It is my, I might have mentioned this before, it is my dream to one day have of camper. It doesn't have to run. I just want something in our backyard that I can doll up like this, so that our grandkids can come over, and when we have a campfire out at night, and then they can stay, the girls stay in the girl camper, and I would like to have a boy camper. My picture for the boy one is to have like an old livestock trailer that we close up the slats on the sides and make bunks in it, and so that the boys have a boyish camper to stay in, and the girls have an all dolled up girl one, and have it around the campfire there so that we can spend the night outside without being in a tent. That's my intention. I don't want to be in a tent, but a dolled up camper like this would be so fun. So one of these days I'll get that done. I just love this. The backing fabric is not part of that same line. I do not have information on this one. It almost looks like a Lori Holt print. I'm not sure if it is or not, but kind of a 30s type theme. The same pink with the little flowers. Really cute. Ah, I just think this is adorable. Just adorable. Wouldn't this, I mean, to have a dolled up camper like this in my backyard and then to make a quilt like this to go out in the camper, I just think would be so fun. So fun. And that was Susan's quilt. All right, I have one more to show you today, and you can't see it because it's all the way down at the bottom of the ladder, but this is a 30s reproduction fabrics in this quilt, and it is a beauty. And finally today I have Judy's quilt. Now Judy said this quilt was inspired by the pattern Retro Dreams, 1930s Retro Dreams, and that pattern can be found on the Tiki London website. And you will want to check out this website. So Tiki London is an online only store, but she did used to have a mortar brick front store prior to having to move away out of the country and then back, and so now it's only an online store, but really cute stuff, lots of patterns. She is from the UK, and just really cute stuff you'll want to go check out. Even the pictures she shows of her store when she did have it open are absolutely adorable, and wow, I would want to visit if she had that store open still. So the Retro Dreams pattern that you will find on that website actually takes this block right here. Let me open this up a little bit larger because you can see how it's the same block, but here it's turned. Let's just look at these center rectangles. Here the rectangles are horizontal, and here they are vertical. In the Retro Dreams pattern that's on the Tiki London website, she doesn't have sashing in between. So she puts this block right up against this block. All 30s prints, I mean, obviously it could be done in different ones. We saw a quilt very similar to this with Tilda Fabrics recently. A little different, but pretty similar. So you could put them all together without the sashing. I really like Judy's improvising, however you want to say that, by adding the sashing in there. I think it gives your eye a place to rest. The other type of quilts are very busy and just as pretty, but I kind of like this a little bit better, adding the sashing. That gives you the little cornerstones where you can add a little bit other piece of fabric. Really cute. These are all done in 30s prints. I love 30s prints. I have got to make a 30s one at some point. I've linked a couple of different 30s fabric lines, reproduction lines down below. There are a couple nice ones that I found on Fat Quarter Shop right now. I don't have a listing of all of the ones that that Judy has used on hers, but Fat Quarter Shop does have a couple of nice ones now. There's a really cute one called 30s Playtime, I believe is what it's called. It's coming out March or May of next year. And I've even linked that down below so that you'll be notified when that one comes out, because it is really adorable and actually matches a lot of these fabrics a little bit better than the other ones that I've linked, but that won't be available till next year. So if you're wanting to make this now, you may have to pick up a different line. Really nice. The white fabric is a solid white, so you could use a Bella Solid. a Kona solid, anything like that that uses just a plain white. Then around the edging, try to get that where you can see it without the other blocks behind it. So just the same size, and Judy has done a border all the way around. So she has the sashing with the little cornerstone, and then did one more border all the way around that's just a scrappy border of the same sizes. This is obviously could be jelly roll friendly because everything looks like it's 2.5 inches. So jelly rolls, if you have 30s reproduction prints and jelly rolls, this would be a great use for them as well. So you'll want to check out that pattern by Tiki London and that whole website as well. The backing fabric, I don't have any information on this. It's a red, almost checkerboard, almost gingham type. It's a red print, red and white print. Really cute. Again, this is one of those I can't wait to see what binding fabric Judy uses to put on this one. So Pantograph, let's talk about that real quick. So Judy chose the Ginger Snap Pantograph. A nice, simple, just kind of goes along with the 30s prints, just kind of juvenile, and I feel like the Ginger Snap is just a simple, playful design. I don't know how well we can, yeah, you can see it there. We've used this on several different patterns or different quilts here recently. We kind of did this in a medium size, not too tight, not really big. I have shrunk it down for smaller quilts. I have increased it for clients who don't like a lot of tight quilting. It works really well either way. You have the inner circle, then the outer circle, and then just a couple loops as it moves on to the next pantograph. This is one you could practice and do if you're a hand-guided long arm quilter. You could do this one as well, I think. I used a white thread, again because this fabric was white. I didn't want to add a color. There was no print to this one at all. I didn't want to add a color on. The white, a lot of these 30s prints are based on a white background to them, and so the white didn't stand out too much on those either. Really cute. Really nice. And then the white, again, this is a white backing for that red print on top, so the white just blends in. Really fun. Had a great variety this week, from flannels, you know, up there at the top that appear more, which way did my finger go? From the flannels up at the top that have much more wintry to the camper one and this one, which are much more springy feel, all the way to, you know, even some autumn type feels with those other colors, and just a wide variety. This is the best job. The best job. So that's all I have for this week. So like I said at the beginning of the video, I will be finishing up, hopefully finishing up my Calico Garden quilt top this week, and I will show that to you prior to putting it on the long arm. I haven't even picked out a backing fabric yet. I'll need to work on that this week as well, because I'm excited to get that done. So if you are in need of long arm quilting services, there is a link down below for my long arm quilt and prep instructions. Like I mentioned before, if you're interested in our Quilt Circle, then you'll want to join up for that membership. Not join the membership yet, it's still a wait list, but that membership will open for 4 days this coming week, so you'll want to get your name on the wait list for that. And I hope you're making lots of time to quilt, because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you next week.